Every year, my kids forgot me on Christmas. Heck, I think they forgot me every day. This year I bought myself a beach house. When they showed up with a lawyer to take it from me, they thought I was alone. They had no clue I had a witness, cameras and a cop right by my side. Let me tell you how I got here. Let me tell you about the 8 years I spent invisible to my own children. And let me tell you what happened when they finally noticed me. But only because I had something they wanted. Before we continue, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to hear my story. If you're comfortable, let me know where you're listening from, and what time it is where you are. Now let me tell you my story. My name is Dorothy Jenkins, I'm 73 years old, and for the past 8 years, I've been a ghost in my own family's life. Not literally, of course, I'm very much alive. I walk, I talk, I breathe, I exist. But to my 3 children, Jerome, Charlene, and Marcus, I might as well have been invisible. It started the day my husband Raymond died. Heart attack at 67, sudden and devastating. 1 minute he was here, the next he was gone. My children came to the funeral, of course. They cried, they hugged me. They promised they'd be there for me. You won't be alone, Mama, Jerome had said, squeezing my hand. We're going to take care of you, Charlene had promised, tears streaming down her face. I'll visit all the time, Marcus had sworn, his voice breaking. Those were beautiful promises. They lasted about 3 months. Then life got busy for them. Jerome had his insurance business, and his wife Denise to worry about. Charlene had her teaching job and her 2 teenagers and her husband Robert. Marcus had his IT consulting work and his messy divorce that was consuming all his energy, and I understood. I really did. Life is complicated. People have responsibilities. I didn't expect them to drop everything for me, but I also didn't expect to become completely forgotten. Let me paint you a picture of what the last 8 years looked like. My birthday is March 15th. Simple date, easy to remember. In 2019, my 68th birthday, Jerome called me 3 days late. Sorry, Ma. Crazy week at work. Charlene sent a text, just the words "Happy birthday, Mom," with a cake emoji. Marcus forgot entirely. In 2020, my 69th birthday, no calls at all. Charlene sent the same text, "Happy birthday, Mom," with the same cake emoji. I wondered if she'd just copied and pasted from the year before. In 2021, my 70th birthday, a milestone supposedly significant, Jerome called, but only to ask if I had the deed to the house because he was refinancing something and needed documentation. When I reminded him it was my birthday, he said, "Oh, right, happy birthday, Ma. Listen, about that deed." Charlene was too busy with Tyler's basketball game to call. Marcus sent a $50 Visa gift card in the mail. No card, no note, just the gift card in an envelope. I kept a journal of all of this. Not because I'm petty, though my children would probably call it that, but because I needed to remember, needed to document, needed proof that I wasn't imagining the neglect, wasn't being overly sensitive, wasn't just a lonely old woman making up grievances. I had a small navy blue notebook, where I wrote everything down. March 15, 2019, Jerome called 3 days late. Charlene texted. Marcus forgot. March 15, 2020, 69th birthday. No calls. Charlene texted same message as last year. March 15, 2021, 70th birthday. Jerome called asking for paperwork. Charlene too busy. Marcus sent gift card. No personal message. The journal filled up quickly because birthdays weren't the only thing they forgot. There were the phone calls I made that went straight to voicemail. "Hey baby, just calling to check in. Call me back when you can." They rarely did. There were the text messages I sent. "Thinking of you," or "How are the kids?" or "Would love to see you soon." That got one-word responses if I was lucky. "Good, fine, busy." There were the invitations I extended. "Would you like to come for dinner on Sunday?" That got cancelled at the last minute. "Sorry, Ma, something came up. Can't make it. Kids have practice. Maybe next time." And then there were the Christmases. Oh, the Christmases were the worst. The first Christmas after Raymond died, I understood. Everyone was grieving. The kids spent it with their own families, and I spent it alone. But I understood. It was a hard year. The second Christmas I assumed things would be different. I called Jerome in early December. "What are the plans for Christmas? Should I come to your place or would you like to come here?" "Oh, Ma, we're actually going to Denise's parents' place this year. They're getting older and we want to spend time with them." I called Charlene. Same question. Mom, we're doing Christmas with Robert's family. His sister is hosting and she's got a small house, so it's just going to be immediate family. I called Marcus. Sorry, Mom. I'm actually going to skip Christmas this year. The divorce is really rough and I just need some time alone. So I spent Christmas alone. I cooked a small meal for myself, watched some movies, went to bed early, told myself it was fine. Next year would be different, but next year wasn't different, or the year after that, or the year after that. For 6 years I spent every single Christmas alone. 6 years of decorating a tree by myself, cooking meals that were too big for one person, setting a table for one, watching Christmas movies alone, going to bed at 8 p.m. because there was nothing else to do. 6 years of calling my children Christmas morning and getting voicemail. 6 years of sending group texts, Merry Christmas from Mom, love you all, and getting delayed perfunctory responses, Merry Christmas here too Mom, or sometimes nothing at all. I saved all those text messages, took screenshots, put them in a folder on my phone labeled evidence, because that's what it was. Evidence of neglect, evidence of abandonment, evidence that my children had moved on with their lives, and I was simply no longer a priority. Last Christmas was my breaking point. Let me tell you about last Christmas in detail, because it's important. It's the reason everything changed. I woke up December 25, 2023, in my small 3-bedroom house in the suburbs. The house where I'd raised my 3 children. The house where Raymond and I had celebrated 35 Christmases together. The house that now felt enormous and empty with just me in it. I'd decorated the week before, put up a tree, a small one, because what was the point of a big one? Hung some lights, set out the nativity scene Raymond and I had bought on our honeymoon, made the house look festive even though I knew no one would see it but me. Christmas morning, I made myself a nice breakfast. Scrambled eggs, bacon, toast, coffee, put on a Christmas movie, It's a Wonderful Life, one of Raymond's favorites. At 10 a.m. I called Jerome, voicemail, Merry Christmas baby. Hope you're having a wonderful day with Denise and the kids. Love you. At 10:15 I called Charlene, voicemail, Merry Christmas sweetheart. Give Jasmine and Tyler hugs from Grandma. Love you. At 10:30 I called Marcus, voicemail, Merry Christmas son. I miss you. Love you. At noon I sent a group text with a selfie, me in my Christmas sweater smiling, trying to look happy. Merry Christmas from Mom. Hope everyone is having a blessed day. Love you all. I waited, and waited. At 6 p.m., Jerome responded, Merry Christmas Mom. That was it. No love you too. No how's your day. Just Merry Christmas Mom. At 7 p.m., Charlene responded, You too Mom. 2 words, not even proper spelling. Marcus didn't respond at all. I sat on my couch and I cried. Not the gentle, dignified tears of a woman feeling a little lonely, but the deep, body-shaking sobs of someone who'd been holding everything in for too long. I cried for Raymond, who would never have let me spend Christmas alone. I cried for my children who'd somehow become strangers. I cried for myself, for the years I'd wasted waiting for them to care. At 9 p.m., I dried my tears. I picked up my phone, and I sent one more text to the group. I'm alone again. I love you all. Jerome responded at 9:47 p.m. Sorry Ma, busy with Denise's family. We'll call you soon. Charlene responded at 10:03 p.m. Sorry Mom, kids opened presents late, and now we're cleaning up. Talk tomorrow. Marcus didn't respond. And that night, sitting alone in my dark living room with only the Christmas tree lights for company, I made a decision. I was done. Done waiting for children who didn't care. Done making excuses for them. Done shrinking my own life to make room for people who'd already moved on. I was 72 years old. I'd spent the last 8 years in a holding pattern, living in the same house, following the same routines, hoping that eventually my children would remember I existed, but they wouldn't. They wouldn't because they'd gotten comfortable with my absence, my silence, my understanding. Well, I was done being silent. I was done being understanding. I was going to do something for myself for the first time in decades, and I knew exactly what that something was. The next morning, December 26th, I called a real estate agent. I want to sell my house. She came over that afternoon, walked through the property, evaluated the neighborhood. Mrs. Jenkins, I can get you $85,000 for this house. It's in good condition, decent neighborhood, 3 bedrooms, should sell within 3 months. Make it happen, I said. She looked surprised. Don't you want to think about it? Talk it over with your family? No, I said firmly. This is my house. My decision. My family doesn't get a vote. She nodded slowly and we signed the listing agreement right there. Over the next week, I did something else I should have done years ago. I took inventory of my finances. Really looked at them. After Raymond died, I'd received $200,000 from his life insurance policy. I'd invested it conservatively, and it had grown to about $255,000. I had my own retirement savings from 35 years working at the post office, about $180,000. Raymond's pension and my Social Security brought in about $3,800 a month. And if I sold the house for $85,000 after paying off the small remaining mortgage and closing costs, I'd walk away with about $65,000 total assets, approximately $800,000. For years I'd been living small, spending carefully, saving religiously, not because I needed to, but because I thought I should leave something for my children. But why? Why should I leave them anything when they couldn't even call me on Christmas? I made an appointment with a financial advisor, laid out all my numbers. I want to buy a beach house, I told her. She raised an eyebrow. A beach house? That's a significant purchase. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. We ran the numbers. With $800,000 in assets and my monthly income, I could afford a house up to about $700,000 and still have enough cushion to live comfortably for the rest of my life. But I'd recommend staying under $600,000. She said, give yourself more breathing room. I nodded. That night, I started looking at beach properties online. I'd always loved the ocean. Raymond and I had taken a beach vacation every few years, usually to a little coastal town about 3 hours away. I'd loved walking on the sand, watching the sunrise, listening to the waves. It had been my happy place. I started looking at houses in that same coastal town, and that's when I found it. A 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house with a deck overlooking the ocean, painted pale blue with white trim, a small garden, walking distance to the beach. Built in 1985, well maintained, move-in ready, listed at $75,000. I stared at that listing for an hour. It was more than the advisor recommended. It was a stretch, but it was perfect. I called the listing agent the next morning. I want to see this house. I drove the 3 hours by myself, walked through the property, stood on that deck and looked at the ocean and felt something I hadn't felt in 8 years. Joy. Pure uncomplicated joy. I'll take it, I told the agent. But I need to sell my current house first. Let me know when that happens. She said, this property won't last long at this price. My house sold in 6 weeks. A young couple with 2 kids, thrilled to get a 3-bedroom in a good school district. We closed on February 28. I immediately made an offer on the beach house. Full asking price, cash offer, quick close. The sellers accepted. We closed on March 10th, 5 days before my 73rd birthday. During this entire process, from listing my house in December to closing on the beach house in March, I didn't tell my children, not one word. Jerome called twice during those months, both times to ask me random questions about family documents or old photographs. Never once asked how I was doing. Charlene called once in January to complain about Tyler's grades, talked for 30 minutes about her own stress, never asked about my life. Marcus sent a text on my birthday, March 15th, 2 weeks late. Sorry mom, forgot to send this on your actual day, hope it was good. Here's a gift card. Another generic Visa card. $50 again. No personal message. I moved into my beach house on March 20th. Hired movers, packed up 30 years of life in that suburban house. Left behind the memories of raising children who no longer cared. Drove 3 hours to my new life. And I didn't tell them. I figured they'd notice eventually. Maybe they'd call and I wouldn't answer because I was busy. Maybe they'd drive by the old house and see new people living there. Maybe they'd wonder, or maybe they wouldn't notice at all. Honestly, I wasn't sure which would hurt more. The beach house was everything I'd dreamed of. I woke up every morning and had coffee on my deck, watching the sunrise over the ocean. I took walks on the beach every afternoon, feeling the sand between my toes. I met my neighbor Lucy, a 71-year-old widow who'd bought her beach house 5 years earlier. Best decision I ever made, she told me over coffee on her deck. My kids thought I was crazy, spending my retirement money at a beach house instead of saving it for them. But you know what? They didn't visit me before, and they don't visit me now. At least now I'm happy. We became instant friends. Lucy and I had coffee together almost every morning. We walked the beach together. We went to the same small church, where I met Pastor Regina Brooks, a warm, wise woman who welcomed me with open arms. "We're glad to have you, Sister Dorothy," she said. "This is a good community. You'll be happy here." She was right. I met the Torres family across the street, a young couple, Eduardo and Maria, with 3 small children. Maria was overwhelmed, working full-time while Eduardo worked construction. "Miss Dorothy," she asked one day, "would you ever be willing to watch the kids for an hour after school while I finish my work shift?" "I'd love to," I said. And just like that I became Grandma to 3 beautiful children who actually wanted to spend time with me. I babysat twice a week. The kids would run to my house, excited to see me. Grandma. They'd show me their school projects, tell me about their days, hug me goodbye. It filled a hole in my heart I didn't even realize was still open. For 5 months I lived in peace. I had friends. I had community. I had purpose. I volunteered at church. I helped Maria with the kids. I had coffee with Lucy. I walked on the beach every single day, and I was happy. Genuinely, deeply happy for the first time since Raymond died. My children still barely called Jerome once in April asking if I still had his high school yearbooks. Charlene once in May complaining about how expensive Jasmine's junior prom dress was. Marcus on Mother's Day with a 3-minute phone call that felt obligatory and awkward. None of them asked where I was. None of them asked about my life. None of them noticed anything had changed. Until Jerome accidentally discovered my secret. It was a Saturday in early August, about 5 months after I'd moved. Jerome was visiting a friend who lived about 20 minutes from my beach town. They'd gone out for lunch and Jerome was driving back to the highway when he took a wrong turn, found himself driving through my neighborhood, and that's when he saw it. My car, my 2015 Toyota Camry, with the small dent in the back bumper and the proud postal worker sticker, parked in the driveway of a beautiful blue beach house. He did a double take, pulled over, stared. That couldn't be his mother's car, could it? But it was. Same license plate, same dent, same sticker. What the hell was his mother's car doing in the driveway of a beach house that probably cost $500,000? He got out of his car, walked up to the house, looked through the windows, and saw his mother's furniture, her photographs on the wall, her decorations, her life. He knocked on the door. No answer. I was at church that morning, attending a volunteer meeting about the upcoming food drive. Jerome waited for 10 minutes, knocked again, nothing. He took photos of the house, of my car, of the address. Then he got in his car and immediately called Charlene. "Did Mom move?" Charlene was at Tyler's soccer game. What? What are you talking about? I'm standing outside a beach house right now and Mom's car is in the driveway. Her stuff is inside. Did she move? That's impossible. Mom lives in the same house she's lived in for 30 years. Well, she doesn't anymore because I'm looking at a different house right now and it's hers. Charlene was quiet for a moment. Maybe she's visiting someone, with all her furniture. Charlene, I can see her couch through the window, her photos on the wall. This isn't a visit. She lives here. That doesn't make sense. Where would she get the money for a beach house? That's what I want to know. They hung up and Charlene immediately called me. I was walking out of church chatting with Pastor Brooks about the food drive. When my phone rang, I saw Charlene's name and almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. "Hello, baby." "Mom." Her voice was strange, tight. "Where are you?" "I'm at my house." "Why? What house?" I smiled. She was finally asking. After 5 months, my house, my beach house. I bought it in March. Silence. Complete, total silence. Then, "You bought a beach house?" "Yes." "With what money?" "My money, baby. From selling the old house and my savings." "You sold the house we grew up in, without telling us?" "It was my house to sell. I didn't need permission." "Mom, she was sputtering. "That's crazy. That's a huge decision. You should have consulted us." "Why? You haven't consulted me about anything in your life for 8 years. Why do I need to consult you about mine?" She didn't have an answer for that. "Where is this house? How much did it cost?" "Mom, are you sure you can afford this?" "I can afford it fine. I'm not answering any other questions. If you want to know more you can visit me. You know, the thing you haven't done in 3 years. "Mom, I have to go, Charlene. I'm busy." And I hung up. Within an hour, my phone was blowing up. Jerome calling, Charlene calling again, text messages from both of them. "Mom, we need to talk about this. This is serious. Call us back. We're worried about you. I ignored all of them, turned off my phone, made myself lunch, sat on my deck and enjoyed the ocean view. They weren't worried about me. They were worried about the money. That night, I finally turned my phone back on. 17 missed calls, 12 text messages, and 1 voicemail from Marcus. I listened to it. Hey mom, Charlene told me you moved to a beach house. That's great. I'm really happy for you. I'd love to visit sometime if that's okay. I know I haven't been around much. I'm sorry about that, but I'd like to see you and your new place. Call me back when you can. Love you. Of all the messages, his was the only one that sounded genuine, the only one that didn't immediately demand explanations or express concern about money. It was just human. I called him back. Marcus. Mom. Hey, I'm glad you called. Did Charlene send you to check on me? He laughed softly. She told me about the house. But no, she didn't send me. I genuinely want to visit. I've been a shitty son. I know that, and I'd like to do better. We'll see, I said. You can visit, but just you, not Jerome or Charlene. Not right now. That's fair. How about next weekend? Next weekend is fine. We made plans and hung up. I felt a tiny bit of hope about Marcus. But Jerome and Charlene, I knew exactly what they were thinking, and I knew exactly what was coming. The next week, both of them called multiple times. I answered once, spoke to each of them briefly, gave them no details, told them I was fine and got off the phone quickly. They were fishing, trying to figure out how much the house cost, how much money I had left, whether I was mentally sound to make such a big decision. I could hear it in their voices. The concern wasn't about me. It was about their inheritance. On Tuesday, Jerome showed up unannounced. I was having coffee with Lucy on my deck when I heard a car pull up. Lucy and I exchanged looks. You expecting someone? She asked. No. I walked around to the front, and there was Jerome's Acura, and Jerome getting out with his wife Denise, both of them smiling like this was a pleasant surprise visit. Might. We wanted to come see your new place. Jerome opened his arms for a hug. I gave him a brief, stiff hug, nodded at Denise. Hello, Denise. Mrs. Jenkins. This house is beautiful. She was already looking around, assessing. I could see the calculations in her eyes. Square footage, ocean view, property value. Thank you. Can we come in? Jerome asked. I suppose. I let them in, feeling Lucy's eyes on us from her deck next door. Jerome and Denise walked through my house like they were conducting an inspection, opening closets, looking in bedrooms, checking out the kitchen. This must have cost a fortune, Denise said, running her hand over the granite countertops. How much? That's private, I said calmly. Jerome laughed. Ma, come on, we're family. We're just curious. Curiosity about my finances isn't appropriate. We're not trying to pry, Jerome said, though that's exactly what he was doing. We're just concerned. At your age, making a big financial decision like this without consulting us. Without consulting you? I looked at him direct. Jerome, when's the last time you consulted me about anything in your life? When's the last time you called just to talk? When's the last time you visited? He shifted uncomfortably. Ma, I've been busy. The business has been crazy. Denise and I have been dealing with stuff. You know how it is. I do know. I know I've been alone for 8 years. I know you forgot my last 5 birthdays. I know you left me alone every single Christmas. I know all of that. Denise jumped in. Mrs. Jenkins, we understand you're upset, but this seems impulsive. A house this nice in this location must have cost at least $500,000. Maybe more. That's a lot of money to spend at your age. At my age, I repeated. What does my age have to do with anything? Well, you need to think about your future. Medical expenses, long-term care, leaving something for your children. Leaving something for you, you mean? Denise blinked. That's not what I said. But it's what you meant. You're worried I'm spending your inheritance. Well, let me be clear. There is no inheritance. This is my money. I earned it. I saved it. And I'm spending it on my life. What's left when I die, if anything, is none of your concern right now. Jerome looked genuinely shocked. Ma, that's harsh. Is it? Was it harsh when you left me alone every Christmas for 6 years? Was it harsh when you forgot my birthdays? Was it harsh when you only called when you needed something? He didn't have an answer. They stayed for another uncomfortable 30 minutes. Denise kept making comments about the house, the neighborhood, The cost of property taxes, the expense of maintaining a beach property. Jerome kept asking questions about my finances that I refused to answer. Finally, they left. "We're just worried about you, Mom," Jerome said at the door. "Sure you are," I replied. The moment they drove away, Lucy came over. "Those are your kids?" "Unfortunately, they're worried about their inheritance." "I know. What are you going to do?" I thought about it. "I'm going to protect myself. Because they're not done. This was just the beginning." I was right. Over the next 2 weeks, both Jerome and Charlene started acting strange, asking weird questions on phone calls. "Ma, do you remember where you put your keys this morning? Ma, have you been forgetting things lately? Ma, who helped you buy the house? Did someone talk you into it?" I knew what they were doing. Building a case that I was mentally incompetent, that I'd made a rash decision, that maybe I'd been influenced or manipulated. It was insulting, but it was also predictable. I called my financial advisor. "I need a lawyer, someone who specializes in elder law and protecting assets." She gave me a name, Michelle Assay. I called Michelle's office and got an appointment for the following week. Michelle was a sharp, no-nonsense black woman around 45 who listened to my story without interrupting. When I finished, she nodded. "I've seen this before. Adult children who ignore their elderly parents until the parents spend money, then suddenly they're concerned. You need to protect yourself." "How?" "First, we make sure your estate plan is ironclad. Living will, power of attorney, healthcare directive, and a will that explicitly states your wishes. We make it clear that you're of sound mind and that these are your decisions." "Okay." "Second, we document everything. Do you have any record of their neglect?" I pulled out my navy blue journal, 8 years worth. She flipped through it, her expression growing more serious with each page. "This is good. Very good. It shows a pattern of behavior. It also shows you're organized and mentally sharp." "What else? Do you have cameras in your house?" "No." "Get that. Doorbell camera and a few interior cameras. If they come to your house and try to coerce you or threaten you, we need video evidence." "They wouldn't." "Mrs. Jenkins, when money is involved, people do things you wouldn't believe. Trust me. Get cameras." I nodded. "And one more thing," Michelle said. "Do you know any police officers in your area? Anyone you could call if you feel threatened?" "There's an officer I see on my morning walks. Officer Washington. We chat sometimes. He's nice. Get his card. Tell him your situation. Ask if you can call him if you need help. Most officers are very protective of elderly people being exploited by family." I left Michelle's office feeling more prepared. Over the next few days I installed doorbell and interior cameras. I updated all my estate documents. I got Officer Washington's card and explained my situation. He was immediately sympathetic. "My grandmother raised me," he said. "She dealt with family members trying to take advantage of her when she got older. It makes me sick. You call me anytime, Mrs. Jenkins, anytime you feel unsafe or pressured. I live 5 minutes away and I'll be there." Lucy knew everything that was happening. She'd become my closest confidant. "They're going to come at you," she warned. "Probably with a lawyer, trying to scare you." "Let them try," I said. "I'm ready." On a Saturday morning in early September, 3 months after Jerome had discovered my beach house, it happened. I was on my deck having coffee when I saw 3 cars pull up. Jerome's Acura, Charlene's SUV, and a black sedan I didn't recognize. My heart started pounding. This was it. I texted Lucy, "They're here." She texted back immediately. "Coming over. Back door." I texted Officer Washington, "Situation developing. May need you." He responded, "On my way. We'll park on the next street." The doorbell rang. I took a deep breath and opened the door. There stood Jerome, Charlene, Denise, and a white man in a suit carrying a briefcase. "Ma, we need to talk," Jerome said. His voice was trying to sound kind but came across as condescending. "This is Lloyd Westbrook. He's an attorney. He's here to help." "Help with what?" I asked calmly. Lloyd stepped forward with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Mrs. Jenkins, I'm an elder law attorney. Your children have expressed some concerns about recent decisions you've made, large financial transactions, significant life changes. We're here to discuss your capacity to manage your affairs." "My capacity is fine. I'm sure you believe that. But your children are worried. They love you and they want to make sure you're protected. Sometimes at your age people can make decisions that aren't in their best interest." Decisions that might be influenced by others or made without full understanding of the consequences. I looked at my children, really looked at them. Charlene wouldn't meet my eyes. Jerome looked determined. Denise looked hungry. Where were you last Christmas? I asked. They looked confused. What? Jerome said. Last Christmas. Where were you? Ma, what does that have to do with where were you? Jerome sighed. I was with Denise's family. You know that. And you, Charlene, with Robert's parents and the kids. Mom, this isn't, and Marcus, Charlene said. Marcus wasn't included in this. This is just us. Of course he wasn't. Because he'd tell you this is wrong, that what you're doing right now is disgusting. Lloyd tried to regain control of the conversation. Mrs. Jenkins, let's stay focused. Your children are here because they care about you. They want to make sure you're taken care of. And to do that, we think it's best if you sign some documents giving them oversight of your finances. It's called a power of attorney. It's very common. It just means they can help you manage things. For your own protection. Protection from what? From living my life? From being happy? From spending my own money on my own happiness? From making mistakes that could leave you destitute? Lloyd said smoothly. A house this expensive, at your age with limited income, it's risky. Your children don't want to see you run out of money and lose everything. I'm not going to run out of money. How can you be sure? Because I planned carefully. I consulted professionals. I made informed decisions. I'm mentally sound, physically healthy, and perfectly capable of managing my own affairs. Jerome cut in. Ma, stop being difficult. We're trying to help you. No, you're not. You're trying to control me. There's a difference. That's when Lucy walked out from the kitchen. All of them jumped. Who the hell is this? Jerome demanded. Lucille Patterson, Dorothy's neighbor and friend. I've been here the whole time. I heard every word you said. Lloyd looked nervous. This is a private family matter. You have no right. I have every right. This is Dorothy's house, and she invited me. I'm a witness to what's happening here. A witness to what? Denise snapped. To you trying to coerce an elderly woman into signing legal documents, Lucy said firmly. To you questioning her mental capacity, to you trying to take control of her finances. That's called financial exploitation. It's elder abuse. And it's illegal. Lloyd's face went pale. I wasn't coercing anyone. I was simply explaining. You were explaining why she should sign over her financial autonomy without consulting her own legal counsel. That's coercion. I stepped forward. And I have cameras. The doorbell camera caught all of you arriving. The interior cameras have recorded this entire conversation. Every word you've said. Every document you've tried to get me to sign. Jerome looked shocked. You have cameras? I do, because my lawyer told me this might happen. She told me that when money is involved, even family members can become predatory. She was right. Your lawyer? Charlene said. You have a lawyer? Of course I have a lawyer. I'm not the senile old woman you think I am. I'm a 73-year-old woman who worked for 35 years, saved her money, made smart investments and decided to enjoy her life. And I was smart enough to protect myself from people who would try to take that away from me. Lloyd tried one more time. Mrs. Jenkins, I think there's been a misunderstanding. We're not trying to take anything from you. We're trying to help. If you were trying to help, you would have asked what I needed. You would have listened to me. You would have respected my decisions. Instead you showed up with legal documents trying to scare me into signing away my rights. That's not help. That's exploitation. There was a knock at the door. A firm, official knock. I opened it to find Officer Tremaine Washington in uniform. Mrs. Jenkins, I got your text. Everything okay here? The temperature in the room dropped about 20 degrees. Officer, thank you for coming. These people were just leaving. Lloyd immediately went into lawyer mode. Officer, there's no problem here. This is just a family matter. Family matters that involve coercion and potential elder abuse are police matters. Washington said firmly. He looked at me. Ma'am, did these people threaten you or attempt to make you sign documents under duress? Yes, officer. Mr. Westbrook here told me I needed to sign documents giving my children control of my finances. He questioned my mental capacity. He tried to pressure me into signing without allowing me to consult my own attorney. I refused. And my neighbor witnessed the entire exchange. It's also recorded on my security cameras. Washington's expression hardened. He turned to Lloyd. Sir, I'm going to need to see your identification and those documents you mentioned. Lloyd's confidence evaporated. He fumbled in his briefcase and pulled out his bar card and a stack of papers. Washington reviewed them carefully, his jaw tightening as he read. These are conservatorship petitions. Mrs. Jenkins, did you request a conservatorship evaluation? Absolutely not. Did you agree to sign these documents? No. I explicitly refused. Washington looked at Jerome and Charlene. And you two brought this attorney here to do what, exactly? Jerome tried to explain. Officer, our mother just spent a fortune on this house. We're worried about her. She's 73 years old and making huge financial decisions without family input. We just want to make sure she's protected. Protected from what? Washington interrupted. From living her life, from spending her own money, from making her own choices, from making mistakes, Denise blurted out. From blowing through all her money and having nothing left. Left for you mean, Lucy said from behind me. Washington held up his hand. Mom, I'm going to need you to be quiet. He looked at Lloyd. Mr. Westbrook, attempting to get an elderly person to sign legal documents without independent counsel present, especially documents that would strip them of their financial autonomy, is a serious matter. It could constitute undue influence or exploitation of a vulnerable adult. Lloyd's face had gone from pale to gray. Officer, I was simply offering legal advice. Mrs. Jenkins' children hired me in good faith. Good faith? I interrupted. My children haven't visited me in years. They forgot my birthdays. They left me alone every Christmas. They only showed up when they discovered I had assets they wanted. That's not good faith. That's greed. Charlene finally found her voice. Mom, that's not fair. We've been busy, but we love you. Do you? I asked quietly. Do you love me? Because I have 8 years of evidence that says otherwise. I walked to my bookshelf and pulled out my navy blue journal. March 15, 2019, my 68th birthday. Jerome called 3 days late. You sent a text, Charlene. Marcus forgot entirely. March 15, 2020. You sent the exact same text as the year before. March 15, 2021. My 70th birthday, supposedly a milestone. Jerome only called to ask for paperwork. You were too busy with Tyler's basketball game. I flipped through pages. December 25, 2018. First Christmas without Dad. I understood everyone was grieving, but December 25, 2019, and 2021 and 2021, and 2022, and 2023. 6 Christmases I spent completely alone while you celebrated with other people's families. 6 years of calling you Christmas morning and getting voicemail. 6 years of sending you texts and getting one-word responses or nothing at all. I closed the journal. I documented everything, every forgotten birthday, every unreturned phone call, every canceled visit, every time I reached out and you were too busy, because I knew that someday you'd question my decisions, my mental capacity, my judgment, and I wanted proof that the reason I made the choices I made wasn't because I'm senile. It's because I finally stopped waiting for children who don't care. The room was silent except for the sound of waves in the distance. Charlene had tears running down her face. Jerome was staring at the floor. Denise looked furious. Lloyd looked like he wanted to disappear. Officer Washington spoke into the silence. Mrs. Jenkins, do you want these people to leave your property? Yes. And do you want them to come back? Not without an explicit invitation from me? Washington nodded. All right, Jerome, Charlene, Mrs. Jenkins' daughter-in-law, and you, Mr. Westbrook, you need to leave, now, and if you return to this property without Mrs. Jenkins' explicit permission, I will arrest you for trespassing. Do you understand? Jerome tried one more time. Officer, this is our mother. We have a right. You have no rights to her property or her autonomy, Washington said firmly. She is a competent adult who has made her own decisions. The fact that you don't like those decisions doesn't give you legal standing to override them. Now leave, or I'll add harassment to the potential charges list. Lloyd grabbed his briefcase. This isn't over. My clients have legitimate concerns about their mother's welfare. Your clients, Lucy interrupted, haven't seen their mother in years. Their concern is remarkably recent, started right around the time they discovered she had assets worth taking. Washington turned to Lloyd. I'm going to need your business card. I'll be filing a report about this incident, and I'd recommend you review the ethics rules about elder exploitation before you take on any more cases like this. Lloyd handed over his card with shaking hands and practically ran for his car. Denise followed, muttering under her breath. Jerome and Charlene lingered in the doorway. Mom, Charlene said, her voice breaking. I'm sorry? I'm so sorry about the birthdays and the Christmases. I didn't realize, I didn't think about how alone you must have felt. That's the problem, I said. You didn't think about me at all. I was invisible to you. And now that I have something you want, suddenly you care. That's not true, Jerome protested. We've always cared. Really? Then why didn't you call? Why didn't you visit? Why did I spend 8 years feeling like a burden when I reached out and a ghost when I didn't? Neither of them had an answer. You need to leave, I said quietly. Both of you, and you need to think long and hard about what kind of people you've become. Because the children I raised would never have done this. They would never have abandoned their mother and then tried to steal from her. We weren't trying to steal, Jerome started. Yes, you were. You were trying to take control of my assets. That's theft. It doesn't matter if you wrapped it in legal language and convinced yourselves it was for my own good. It was theft. They left. Slowly, reluctantly, but they left. Officer Washington stayed until he saw their cars pull away. Mrs. Jenkins, I'm filing a report about this incident. I'm also going to recommend you contact your attorney about getting a restraining order if they continue to harass you. Thank you, Officer Washington. Call me Tremaine, please. And call me anytime, day or night. If you feel unsafe, I mean that. After he left, I collapsed onto my couch. The adrenaline that had been keeping me upright drained away and I started shaking. Lucy sat beside me and put her arm around my shoulders. You did good, Dorothy. You stood up for yourself. I just threw my own children out of my house, I said, my voice cracking. What kind of mother does that? The kind who's been pushed too far. The kind who deserves respect and didn't get it. Don't you dare feel guilty. They brought this on themselves. I nodded, but the tears came anyway, not tears of regret. Tears of grief. Grief for the relationship I thought I'd have with my children. Grief for the family I'd imagined we'd be after Raymond died. Grief for the mother I'd tried to be and the children who'd stopped caring. That evening I called attorney Michelle Osei and told her everything. She listened without interrupting, then said, You need to file for a restraining order. Tomorrow, I'll start the paperwork tonight. And Dorothy, I'm also reporting Lloyd Westbrook to the State Bar Association. He's got a history of this. Targeting elderly clients, pressuring them to sign documents, working on behalf of predatory family members. He's been under investigation before. Your case might be the one that finally gets his license suspended. Do what you need to do, I said. I'm done protecting people who wouldn't protect me. Over the next few days, the texts and calls from Jerome and Charlene intensified. Angry texts, accusatory texts, pleading texts. How could you do this to your own children? We were just trying to help. You're making a huge mistake. You're going to regret this. I blocked their numbers, applied for the restraining order, got it approved within a week. The judge reviewed my journal, the video footage, Officer Washington's report, and Lucy's witness statement and granted it immediately. Miss Jenkins, the judge said, I'm sorry your children put you through this. You have every right to live your life in peace. The restraining order was served. Jerome and Charlene were legally barred from contacting me or coming within 500 feet of my property for 1 year. 2 weeks after the confrontation, Marcus called. I'd forgotten I hadn't blocked his number because he hadn't been part of the ambush. Mom, he said, his voice heavy. Charlene told me what happened. I'm so sorry. Did she tell you the whole story? Or just her version? She told me they brought a lawyer to your house to try to get you to sign over power of attorney. She told me you had cameras and a witness and called the cops. She told me you got a restraining order. Then what did she leave out? I'm guessing a lot. Can I come see you? Just me. I want to hear your side. And Mom, I want to apologize for all of it. For disappearing after my divorce. For not calling. For not visiting. For not being there. You deserved better. I was quiet for a long moment. You can come. But Marcus, if you're coming because Jerome and Charlene sent you to smooth things over, don't bother. I'm not. They don't even know I'm calling you. I'm coming because I miss my mom, and because I've been a terrible son, and because I want to do better. If you'll let me. Saturday at 2 p.m. I said. I'll be there. Saturday came. I was nervous, sitting on my deck waiting for Marcus's car. Lucy was next door, ready to come over if I needed her, but when Marcus arrived he came alone. No agenda. No lawyer, no accusations. He got out of his car and just stood there for a moment, looking at my house. Then he walked up to the deck where I was sitting. Mom, this place is beautiful. Thank you. Can I sit? Please. He sat across from me and for a minute we just looked at each other. He looked tired. Older than 45, worn down by life. I owe you an apology, he began. A real one. Not just sorry I wasn't around. I owe you an explanation and an acknowledgement of how badly I failed you. I'm listening. When Dad died, I was already going through my divorce. Keisha had just left me. I was a mess. Angry, hurt, ashamed. And instead of leaning on my family, I pulled away. I told myself I was protecting you from my problems. But really, I was just hiding from everything, from everyone. He looked out at the ocean, and then months turned into years. And every time I thought about calling you, I felt guilty. Guilty for not calling sooner. Guilty for missing so much time. And the guilt made it harder to pick up the phone, which made me feel more guilty. It was this terrible cycle. You could have broken the cycle any time, I said quietly. I know, and I'm not making excuses. I'm just trying to explain what was going through my head. It wasn't that I didn't love you, it's that I was drowning and I didn't know how to reach out. And the Christmases, the birthdays, he winced. There's no excuse for those. I was selfish. I was wrapped up in my own pain, and I didn't think about yours. I didn't think about how alone you must have been, especially at the holidays. Especially after losing Dad. I was very alone, I said. For 8 years I was invisible to you, to all of you. I know. And I'm so sorry. He looked at me with tears in his eyes. Mom, Charlene told me what you said, about the journal, about documenting everything. Can I see it? I hesitated, then went inside and got the journal, handed it to him. He opened it and started reading. I watched his face change as he read page after page. Shame, guilt, grief. When he got to the Christmas entries, he started crying openly. Oh, Mom. Oh, God. I didn't know it was this bad. You didn't know because you didn't ask. None of you asked. He closed the journal and set it down carefully. You're right, we didn't. We got comfortable with your absence. We got used to not having you around. And we told ourselves you were fine. That you understood. That you didn't mind. But that was a lie we told ourselves so we didn't have to feel guilty. He wiped his eyes. And then when Jerome found out about this house, suddenly everyone cared. But not about you. About the money. About the inheritance. About what they thought they were entitled to. It's disgusting. They're disgusting. And I'm ashamed to be related to them right now. You weren't part of the ambush, I pointed out. Only because they didn't tell me about it. If they had, I'd like to think I would have stopped them. But honestly, a few years ago I might have gone along with it. Because I was that disconnected from you. That entitled. That blind. What changed? Therapy, he said simply. A lot of therapy. Working through the divorce made me realize how much I'd isolated myself from everyone who loved me, including you. And I started trying to rebuild, started calling you more regularly, started actually wanting to have a relationship again. You called twice this year, Marcus. Mother's Day and my birthday. Both calls were less than 5 minutes. I know it's not enough, but it's more than the year before, and I want to do more. If you'll let me. I looked at my youngest son, the one who'd always been my baby. The one whose abandonment had hurt the most because we'd been close once. What do you want from me, Marcus? A chance, just a chance to be your son again. To actually show up to visit, to call, to be present in your life. Not because you have money or a beach house or anything like that. Just because you're my mom and I love you. And if I say no, then I'll respect that, and I'll understand why. And I'll spend the rest of my life regretting that I waited too long. I sat with that for a long moment, watching the waves, feeling the breeze, thinking about forgiveness and second chances, and whether some relationships can be repaired after they've been broken for so long. Okay, I finally said. One chance. But Marcus, if you disappear again, if you go back to being a stranger, I'm done. I mean that. I'm too old to keep hoping for children who don't show up. I'll show up, he promised. I swear to God, I'll show up. And he did. That day we walked on the beach together. Talked for hours, really talked about his divorce, about his life, about his regrets. About my life too. Not just the neglect, but my new life. my friends, my community, my happiness. I'm glad you bought this house, Mom, he said as we watched the sunset. You deserve it. You deserve all of this. Thank you. And for what it's worth, Jerome and Charlene are wrong. This wasn't a mistake. This was the best decision you could have made. Over the following months, Marcus kept his promise. He visited once a month, called every week, sent texts just to check in. Nothing long or complicated. Just thinking of you, Mom. Hope you're having a good day. Small things, but consistent things. And slowly, carefully, we started rebuilding. Jerome and Charlene, on the other hand, went silent after the restraining order. No more calls, no more texts, nothing. I heard through Marcus that they were furious, that they'd consulted other lawyers trying to find a way to challenge my mental competency, but every lawyer they talked to told them they had no case, that they were complaining to anyone who would listen about their crazy mother who stole their inheritance. Let them complain, I told Marcus. They showed me who they really are. I'm done caring. The restraining order expired after a year. Neither Jerome nor Charlene reached out. Not to apologize. Not to reconcile. Nothing, and that told me everything I needed to know. They weren't sorry about what they'd done. They were just sorry it hadn't worked. As for Lloyd Westbrook, the lawyer they'd hired, Attorney Michelle's complaint to the Bar Association combined with my evidence and several other similar complaints, resulted in his license being suspended for 2 years. He built a practice on exploiting elderly people and their families, and finally faced consequences. Marcus told me that Jerome had financial troubles. Turned out he'd been counting on inheriting from me to pay off his massive debt. When that didn't happen, his financial house of cards collapsed. He had to sell his house, downsize significantly, and file for bankruptcy. Denise left him shortly after. I felt a tiny bit of sadness about that. But mostly I felt nothing. He'd made his choices. He had to live with the consequences. Charlene was doing okay financially, but according to Marcus, she was consumed with bitterness about what Mom did to us. She'd turned me into the villain in her story, rather than accepting responsibility for her own neglect. Her daughter Zara, now 18, had apparently asked to visit me. Charlene forbade it. I don't want you around that woman, she'd said. So Zara waited until she turned 18, got my address from Marcus, and showed up at my door one Saturday afternoon. Grandma Dorothy, she said nervously when I opened the door. I'm Zara. I don't know if you remember me. I'm Charlene's daughter. Of course I remember you, baby. Come in. She came in and looked around with wonder. This place is beautiful, Mom said. Well, she said a lot of things, but this is really nice. We sat on my deck and talked for hours. Zara told me about her life, her college plans, her relationship with her mother. She's so angry all the time, Zara said. Angry at you, angry at Grandpa for dying, angry at the world, and I don't understand it. She says you abandoned the family, but Uncle Marcus told me the truth, that it was the other way around. Your mother sees what she wants to see, I said gently. And she's made me the villain so she doesn't have to face her own guilt. That's not fair to you. No, it's not, but it's her choice, and I can't control that. Zara visited me regularly after that, once or twice a month. She'd spend afternoons with me walking on the beach, helping me in my small garden, just talking. She became one of the joys of my new life. The granddaughter I'd barely known was now someone I was getting to truly love. Marcus told me Charlene was furious about Zara visiting me. She says you're poisoning Zara against her. I laughed at that. I never say a bad word about your sister to Zara. I don't have to. Zara's smart enough to figure things out on her own. 2 years after I bought my beach house on Christmas Day, I woke up in my beautiful blue house by the ocean. But this Christmas was different from all the others. This Christmas I wasn't alone. Marcus arrived at 10 a.m. with gifts and groceries, ready to cook dinner with me. Lucy came over at noon with her famous sweet potato pie. Pastor Brooks stopped by with a poinsettia and a hug. The Torres children ran over with homemade cards. We love you, Grandma. Eduardo and Maria came by in the evening with tamales, and Zara arrived at 2 p.m. with presents and tears and apologies for how her mother had treated me. We all gathered around my table, the table that had once been set for one lonely woman. We held hands and said grace. We ate and laughed and told stories. We celebrated not just Christmas but family, real family, the family we choose, not just the family we're born into. That night, after everyone had gone home, I sat on my deck wrapped in a blanket, watching the stars over the ocean. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. Thank you for giving me another chance. Mom, best Christmas I've had in years. Love you. Then Zara, thank you for being the grandma I always needed. You're amazing. Merry Christmas. Then Lucy, same time next year, I'll bring 2 pies. I smiled and looked out at the waves, thinking about the journey that had brought me here. The loneliness, the neglect, the decision to stop waiting and start living. The beach house that had changed everything, the confrontation that had revealed the truth, the relationships that had ended and the ones that had been rebuilt or newly formed. 8 years I'd spent invisible to my own children. 8 Christmases alone. 8 years of pain and loneliness and feeling forgotten, but that pain had led me here, to this house, to this life, to this peace. Jerome and Charlene had thought they were entitled to my money, my house, my assets. They thought they could bully me into giving up my autonomy. They thought I was a helpless old woman who could be manipulated. They were wrong about all of it. I was exactly who I'd always been, a strong woman who'd worked hard, saved carefully, and made smart decisions, a woman who knew her worth, a woman who refused to be taken advantage of, even by her own children. The beach house wasn't just a house. It was proof that I valued myself even when my children didn't. It was proof that I could be happy even without their approval. It was proof that sometimes the best thing you can do is stop waiting for people to love you and start loving yourself instead. I pulled out my phone and looked at my photos from the day. Marcus laughing in my kitchen. Zara and me walking on the beach. Lucy raising her wine glass in a toast. The Taurus children playing in my living room. This was family. This was love. This was what I'd been missing for 8 years. Not because it didn't exist, but because I'd been looking for it in the wrong places. I'd spent every Christmas alone until I bought a beach house. And then when my children showed up at my door with a lawyer trying to take it from me, they thought I was helpless. They thought I was alone. They had no clue I had witnesses, cameras and a cop by my side. They had no clue I'd been preparing for this moment. They had no clue that the quiet, invisible mother they'd forgotten was actually a strong, smart woman who'd learned to protect herself. They'd tried to take my house. Instead, they'd lost a mother. And I'd lost 2 children I'd been grieving for years anyway. But what I'd gained was worth so much more. Peace, joy, real relationships with people who valued me, a home I loved, a life I'd built for myself, and the knowledge that I was strong enough to stand up for myself, even against my own family. I raised my mug of tea to the stars. Here's to beach houses, I said quietly, and second chances, and knowing your worth, and to never ever being invisible again. The waves answered back with their eternal rhythm and I smiled. Tomorrow I'd wake up in my beautiful house by the ocean. I'd have coffee with Lucy, I'd take my morning walk. I'd probably babysit the Taurus children in the afternoon. I'd live my life, my peaceful, happy, hard-won life. And somewhere out there, Jerome and Charlene were probably still angry, still bitter, still telling themselves I was the villain. But that was their story to live with, not mine. My story had a happy ending, not the ending I'd imagined, where my children loved me and we were all close, but a better one. One where I loved myself enough to walk away from people who didn't value me. One where I built a new family from friends and neighbors and the one child who'd been brave enough to change. One where I woke up every morning grateful for the life I'd created instead of resentful about the life I'd lost. I finished my tea, looked one more time at the stars, and went inside. My beautiful blue beach house. My sanctuary. My proof that it's never too late to choose yourself. That sometimes the best gift you can give yourself is permission to be happy, even if it means disappointing people who never appreciated you anyway. I spent every Christmas alone until I bought a beach house. And then everything changed. Not because my children suddenly cared, but because I finally did. The end.